Welcome back to the double leg. I'm one half of your host, Hey Jai Picks, the other half of the double leg at the parlay. How we doing?
Good, man. What's up? Another fight night card this weekend. Not quite as good as last weekend or the following weekend at UFC 281, but it's fights nonetheless.
Yeah, UFC Vegas 64. If you missed it, we recapped UFC Vegas 63 in a previous video. Go check that out. While you're here, go drop a comment, a like, and a subscription. That would be much appreciated. In this video, UFC 64, it might be weaker than UFC 63, which is a tough one to beat in that fashion. But it's fights. I'm never going to complain about fights. And
Exactly.
who knows? They could always. There's some decent names on this card that I'm interested in to see. But from top to bottom, it's nothing too special. But could surprise us.
Yeah, and it's one of those cards too. It seems like these type of cards that lack the star power, the big names, are the ones that we get the most finishes on. So high hopes for it. If it's not, it wasn't supposed to be a great card anyways. And we got UFC 281 right around the corner. So either way, I think we're set. But yeah, as far as star power goes, man, there's not a lot of big names on this card. Some decent finishers here and there, but overall, I think everybody is tuned in and already ready for next weekend at UFC 281.
Yeah, that one is going to be insane. But for now, let's get into UFC Vegas 64, starting with the main event. Marina Rodriguez and Amanda Lemos. Rodriguez sitting at the favorite. I think this was supposed to happen earlier in this year, and then they moved it to a main event here.
Yeah.
I think this is, for a women's main event, this is a pretty solid main event. Both fighters are pretty high level. Rodriguez, I think very highly of her. I think she has the potential to be a champion. Obviously, she's only lost once, and that was to the current champion. She's on a little 4-fight win streak here. Amanda Lemos, super powerful. A very unimpressive win over Angela Hill. Split decision win there. Angela Hill always comes to fight, though.
Yeah.
And on the loss to Andrade in the main event, and then gets the submission win over Michelle Waterson in just 2 months ago. Both fighters 35 years old, very, very similar in age. This one is, could be a title eliminator. It has a lot of title implications for the strawweight division. Strawweight's definitely the best division in women's MMA. It's pretty much like you got to be 115. So to have any kind of star power, otherwise you're just Valentina and Amanda Nunes, and that's it. So 115, decent enough division in the UFC for the women to have some controversy. What are you thinking on this one?
It's kind of tough. Rodriguez is a stud. This is going to be a super high level women's MMA main event. She did have that loss to Carla Esparza. It seems like that at the time, that's kind of her weakness. Somebody who wants to go out there and wrestle and grapple and try to control you the whole fight, but then wins over Amanda Ribas. Michelle Waterson, it was a decision win, but she looked pretty good throughout it. Got the surprising win over Mackenzie Dern. At that point, everybody was super high on Dern. I believe Dern was the favorite going into that fight. That was a main event last October, I believe, on a fight night card. And then she beats Yao Xinan, who we saw against Mackenzie Dern in her last fight. And Xinan, looked pretty damn good. So to be able to go out there and get a unanimous decision win over her tells you that Marina Rodriguez is getting better. Her skills are sharpening. And if she gets past Amanda, I think the title picture could be in the future for her. I don't see why not. I think she's talented enough. But in this fight, she's going to have to be really, really careful because Lemos is one of those fighters that you just don't know what exactly you're going to get from her. She goes out there against Andrade, gets standing arm triangle. One of the best submissions of the year, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And then other fights, she looks super dominant. Like you said, she's super powerful. She can put the lights out, which is pretty rare in the 115-pound women's division. So on both sides of the fight here, you got two dangerous fighters. I don't like Rodriguez as over a minus 200 favorite. If she drops down and the odds, tighten up a little bit, I'm going to jump all over her. But right now, I'm going to lean Lemos as an underdog, but it's not going to be a heavy play at all. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on her to win by finish just because of that power and her finishing ability. But if the line's starting to tighten up, I'm definitely going to grab Rodriguez somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I agree with you. At that price for Marina Rodriguez, minus 210, it seems a little bit rich. With Amanda Lemos, she usually comes out really hot, super powerful. She used to fight at 135, I believe, when she came into the UFC. Obviously, she dropped down in weight, and she's still holding a lot of that power. So that's something you got to take into account. I think the best way to go about this from a betting perspective is to either wait till the end of round 1 or wait till the end of round 2, see what the live betting market is, kind of have that game plan going into it, that Amanda Lemos is going to come out hot and she could win the first round, and then you get a better price on Marina Rodriguez. Lemos was in the main event with Andrade, but she got finished in the first round. So she doesn't really have any 5-round experience. Rodriguez does. And I think she looked really solid in the Dern fight all throughout the 5 rounds. So she's proven that she can do that. And that's the best way that I can see to go about this one, is to just look for Rodriguez live after rounds 1 or 2 and see what the price is at. If you want to bet Lemos before the fight starts, that's an avenue that I would go to, just in case, she sparks her in the first or second round.
Yeah.
Another thing is Lemos has pretty good BJJ, and Rodriguez did survive against Mackenzie Dern, which is impressive on the ground. But it would be, I don't know that Lemos would come out and just want to start grappling, want to start wrestling, because it's not necessarily her go-to.
Right.
But it's a path that might be the path of least resistance, just because Rodriguez is super crisp on the feet.
Yeah,
I think she's a little bit more technical than Lemos, picks her spots a little bit better. So Lemos by submission could be something, but if Dern doesn't sub you, I don't know that Amanda Lemos is going to sub you. So
right. And for me, it all comes back to the power thing. If you're going to be on Lemos, it's got to be, I'd take her by finish, but the problem is going to be, can she go the 5 rounds like you mentioned? Rodriguez has that experience. Lemos doesn't necessarily have that 5-round experience, so she's going to have to learn to conserve her energy, because she does hit hard, but she puts a lot of energy and a lot of power behind her shots, which can drain the gas tank and tire fighters out. So that's got to be in the back of your head too going into this fight. Can Lemos go through a 5-round war? Because I think Marina Rodriguez, like you said, she's crisp enough on the feet. She's technical. She's not going to overextend and have these big explosive power shots and drain her energy. She knows how to conserve it. So in the long run, Rodriguez is going to be the more polished and experienced fighter in that aspect. So if you are on the Rodriguez side, I don't mind it by decision either. She can go all 5 rounds, outpoint Lemos, stay away from the power, pick her shots, get in some good combinations, and win rounds that way. I could see that happening as well. But I don't know. I just got a feeling that we're going to see a finish in the main event from the women on Saturday.
Yeah, I could see, Lemos kind of gassing out too, and Rodriguez getting a finish. So she does have some pop on her.
Oh yeah.
But she did drop that first round to Yan Shonan. So for me, I'm going to go into it with the game plan of betting her live after round 1 or 2.
Yeah, I like that too.
Seeing that price, because I just think after round 1, she's minus 220 now. I think after round 1, she'll be closer to minus 140, or even lower. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going to take Marina Rodriguez for my pick as well. Moving on to the co-main event. This one, I don't think it'll be super exciting, but I think they're two. I'm interested to see who wins, because they're both very similar in skill set, and it's kind of like a break into the top 15 for welterweights here for D-Rod. And the line's really close. So it's one of those where you're on one side, and it could be the right one, could be the wrong one.
Yep.
17-2 for D-Rod, coming off the win to Li Jingliang at UFC 79, where he was, 8 pounds heavier than him.
Yeah.
And then for Neil Magny, the loss to Shavkat Rakhmonov, can't be too upset about that one. That guy is probably championship material in the future. The dark horse. I know you're big on Shavkat.
Yeah.
In this one, I'm gonna let you go first because I'm interested to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, I think Rodriguez in his last fight against Lee looked pretty good. Kind of a controversial decision. I mean, not necessarily controversial, but it was a super close fight.
Yeah.
But if you look on the Neil Magny side, his last 2 losses are Shavkat Rakhmonov by guillotine, and then Michael Chiesa, who's a good grappler and a submission artist as well. So it seems like that style is what can beat Neil Magny, even though he is a good grappler in his own right. He's solid on the ground. But for Daniel Rodriguez to go in there and just kind of outstrike Neil Magny, it could happen, but I just see Neil wanting to get this thing up against the fence. I don't think Daniel Rodriguez offensively in the grappling department is going to have enough to beat Neil Magny. If he does, he's going to have to knock him out on the feet, or he's going to have to outstrike him for 3 rounds, which I just see Neil Magny. I think he's got a high fight IQ, and he'll know where to take this fight to grind out a win. For those reasons, man, I'm going to stick with Neil Magny on this one. Even though I like Daniel Rodriguez, I think he's fun. He's a good fighter, but I just see Neil getting it done on Saturday.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was leaning towards Magny, but I wanted to hear if you had anything to sell me on D-Rod. But for Neil Magny, I think people overlook how big he is for the division. 6'3", 80-inch reach. He's going to have 6 inches in reach on D-Rod. And D-Rod's not like a small guy. So, yeah, I mean, as you said, better fight IQ. Kind of the better all-around fighter. Training on elevation. He's going to have some good cardio. He's going to be able to go 3. For D-Rod, he fought 2 months ago. So, not even 2 months ago. A month and a week and 4 days. So, not a big layoff there. And if I recall correctly, he said that Li Jingliang made him have dark eyes, shut him off during the fight a couple times. And I'm like, that's not exactly something that I would be happy to hear if I'm going to have my betting ticket on D-Rod here.
Right.
So I don't know why he's coming in here so quickly to get back in the cage. I mean, maybe he just got the short end of the stick in that whole UFC 279 thing. But as far as financials go, did get the win, but maybe he just is feeling good about himself. He didn't have to cut as much weight in that one, so maybe that has something to do with it. Yeah, I'm gonna lead Neil Magny. I'm gonna take him as my pick, and for -120, you could probably get him for a little bit better on that on Bet Openly. I think I saw a couple open slips for -110. That's not bad,
No, not at all.
I think that's not a terrible bet, and I would probably think that more people would come in on Neil Magny as the week goes on, but just D-Rod's kind of like a fan favorite too,
right?
With the tattoos, and he's just he's kind of got that gangster to him a little bit. So who knows? But I'm gonna take Magny. I don't mind him on the money line either. By decision is probably not much richer, and you're probably not going to be finishing D-Rod. And Neil Magny's not super powerful, so yeah, +115 for by decision. Not getting a ton of value there, but
no,
you never know. In those fights, I don't know, D-Rod could just get sparked, like he said Li Jingliang was doing it to him. So
yeah,
I don't know. With that little of a discrepancy, I'd probably just stick to the money line.
Right. No, yeah. There's not a huge difference between +110 and -110, especially when you're talking about, just a win by any way possible compared to one single outcome by decision. So -110, I think there's really good value. By decision, just not much of a difference. So yeah, I'm sticking on the money line too. And another thing, Neil Magny fights well when he doesn't have to worry about guys submitting him like Shavkat or Michael Chiesa. like you said, he's got the 80-inch reach. He's going to be bigger. He's going to be longer. He's going to be super hard to hit for Daniel Rodriguez. And Daniel wants to get in your face and box with you. But I just think it's going to be hard to do for him against a guy like Neil Magny with his size. And then if Neil Magny can get this thing up against the cage, he's a super good grappler, fights well in the clinch, and he's going to be a lot better than D-Rod on the ground if it goes there. I just think there's too many pros on the Neil Magny side. So, yeah, I'm sticking with him on the money line as well.
I agree. And Neil Magny beat Jeff Neal in a stand-up fight. And we just saw how good Jeff Neal looked against him.
Super good.
So,
yeah,
I like Neil Magny this week. So, moving on to the heavyweights, it drops off really quick as far as how the skill level goes. But Josh Parisian and the Vanilla Gorilla Chase Sherman. This one sitting at a pick'em, pretty much as well as the other fight. Both fighters pretty low level. Chase Sherman coming back in to the UFC, got that loss to Romanov, took the bullet on that one.
Yeah,
it's the KO win over Jared Vandera. Shout out Jared Vandera taking another L for us last week.
Yep,
letting us cash the ticket on Waldo. And then for Parisian, kind of win and loss here, just to some really low competition.
Yeah.
Parker Porter, he's okay, I guess, just pretty low level. Roque Martinez, really low level. Downtown Mays has not looked like anything special. Alan Baudot, pretty bad.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is as low as it gets. So usually in these situations, I would just go with the dog, but it's at a pick'em, so it's like, who the hell knows? I'm probably going to lean towards Chase Sherman. I think he's a little bit more athletic, and he can take a punch a little bit better. But I don't know if I'll be getting there from a betting perspective,
right?
Because it's so low level. Both guys are very similar in size. Chase Sherman looks a little bit more put together as far as like the chub goes, but yeah, I'll take Sherman. What do you got?
Yeah, no, Chase Sherman's definitely the more athletic big man here. And Chase Sherman actually has pretty good boxing. Fundamentally, he hits hard as well, but he's just taken those bad losses. Alexander Romanov by Americana, Jake Collier by rear naked choke. So you can tell, grappling and on the ground isn't necessarily his strong point. And then on the other side, Parisian just hasn't fought anybody. I mean, he hasn't beat anybody good. He's lost to some guys that are, questionable. I don't necessarily trust Chase Sherman on the money line just because of the losses he's had. Second stint in the UFC. And then on the other side, Parisian, like I said, just not the best experience. He's fought a lot of guys, but he hasn't fought a lot of good athletic guys like Sherman. But I do see this fight getting finished one way or the other. I'm interested to see what the line is going to be on this fight to end inside the distance. I'm guessing it's going to be big, but I'm not going to take either side. I am going to take inside the distance, whatever that line may be, but I'm probably going to throw it in a parlay because I imagine it's going to sit around minus 250. I don't think anybody sees these two heavyweights going the distance, especially with, the power they hold and how good of a boxer Chase Sherman can be. And same thing with Parisian. So I'm going to be curious to see what that line is when it comes out for inside the distance. I don't have it in front of me on this app. I don't know if you have seen it anywhere
for the fight
to end. Yeah.
Distance.
Yep.
The only thing I got right now is over under. The under sitting at minus 170 for 2.5.
Okay. Yeah, that might not be a bad bet either. Yeah. Anything under minus 200, not at all. But definitely a parlay piece for me. Yeah. I don't. Like I said, I'm not comfortable taking either side here because both guys have looked pretty bad at times and then haven't necessarily looked real good ever. So, definitely going to take the fight to end inside the distance one way or the other.
Yeah, neither guy really wants to, push any kind of wrestling or grappling or clinch. Right. So both guys are probably just going to stand and bang. Chase Sherman does have some pretty decent power. And as you said, he's got some pretty good hands. Parisian hasn't shown that kind of, hand speed or even like technicality. He's a little bit more loopy with it.
Right.
So, I'm going to take Chase for my pick. But as you said, it's low level. That fight to not go the distance doesn't seem too bad either.
Yep.
Moving on to This one, I'm interested to see this one, actually.
Yeah.
Tagir Ulanbekov and Nate Maness. Nate Maness just fought Cousin Umar and went the distance with him. That's kind of a win in some fashion. Tagir Ulanbekov coming off a loss to Tim Elliott. So both fighters were on 4-fight or had 1-4 their last 5. Ulanbekov coached by Habib as well. I would assume he's going to be in his corner for this one. He was in his last one. So just based on that, I'm going with Ulanbekov.
Can't fade Team Khabib.
No, you just can't. You just can't. Yeah, so I think I don't see him getting 2 losses in a row. And even that loss to Tim Elliott was like such a greasy win for Tim Elliott. Like, I know Tagir didn't look that great in that fight, but Tim Elliott looked like, 1, like really good, and 2, he was like fighting really, really greasy. He's like throwing illegal knees, grabbing gloves and everything. And the Khabib in the corner was getting pissed, and I don't know. I feel like he just kind of like blitzed him, and Gear was like, "What the hell is going on?" And then by the time that the rounds were over, he had lost 2 of the 3, but in that 3rd round, he controlled him like really easily.
Yeah,
took the back. For Nate Maness, he's pretty decent. To go 3 rounds with Umar Nurmagomedov, not get finished, is a dub, as I said earlier. And then the kid's, I think he has some decent potential in this division. Nothing like too crazy. Bantamweight. He was at bantamweight. He's moving down to flyweight in this one, but yeah, I guess you got to take that into account too. Who knows what he's going to look like, but decent on the feet. He did get cracked by Tony Gravely in that fight, but he did end up finishing that one for him. He got cracked like right at the end of the round, and then the bell sounded and got saved by the bell, and then came back and knocked him out. So he's decent. I'm gonna go with Tagir though, and I don't mind him as a parlay piece. I know he's like minus 200 something now. It's set minus 180, but you're gonna get people coming in on him. So
no, I'm the exact same way. Parlay piece right now. I'm showing minus 210 in that camp with Habib, Islam. Those guys are on a roll. They're doing something right over there. They're producing absolute killers. I don't see a guy like Nate Maness coming in there and taking out Tagir. He hasn't really fought anybody either. Tony Gravely's good, but other than that, it's Luke Sanders, Johnny Munoz Jr., Kellen Van Camp. He hasn't. Those are guys that are pretty inexperienced. So this is going to be a step up, especially in the grappling department. Tagir's got a ton of weapons. I just think after that loss that he's coming off of the Tim Elliott, Team Habib's going to have him right. He's going to come in there. I think he's going to look really, really good. He's going to look dominant. And minus 210, I think this is a parlay piece that's, you can almost bank on cashing. I don't see him going in there and losing or getting out-grappled by Nate Maness, even though Nate does have good wrestling. But overall, man, I got to lean Tagir here. I really like the pick a lot.
Yeah, and they got the recipe to beat Nate Maness.
Yep, exactly.
Because Umar just did it. So.
Yep.
All right, Mark Madsen, Grant Dawson, the undefeated Olympian Greco-Roman wrestler. This is Greco, right?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, coming in as a dog, so underdog as a undefeated. 38 years old, though. Training out of fight ready. That's always a good sign. Grant Dawson, 18-1, so a couple fighters who do not have a lot of experience losing. 4-0-1 in his last 5, and sitting at a minus 210 favorite right now. I really love Grant Dawson. I think this guy is super talented, and I know he switched gyms down to American Top Team from Glory MMA, and in his last fight out, he looked amazing against was it Jared Gordon? Yeah.
Yep, Jared Gordon.
I know a lot of people were on Jared Gordon as a dog. Grant Dawson came out there and just, smoked him. So
yeah,
I think Grant Dawson has a big future at lightweight. I think he definitely has potential to break into the top 15 in the next a year or so, or even in 2023, if he stays active. I think he takes his O this week. I think he's taking Mark Madsen's O. Mark Madsen does not really do much other than wrestle. I mean, he's decent on the feet. And, of course, the way that the judges have been scoring this fight, I don't think Mark Madsen's style is going to get him a lot of love from the judges. In his last fight, just basically humped Vince Pichel on the ground for as long as he could. Pichel's nailing him with like elbows and punches and doing more damage from the bottom than Mark Madsen's doing on top. So I think Mark Madsen gets his O taken. Grant Dawson gets the win here. And I wouldn't be surprised if he subs him. Grant Dawson's super slick with submissions. And, if Mark Madsen has to wrestle. Like, I don't think he can stand with Grant Dawson either. Grant's not anything special on the feet, but he's solid enough. The dude is super strong. He's a couple inches taller than Mark Madsen. So this fight's probably going to hit the ground. I would not be surprised if Grant Dawson cinches up some kind of submission.
Yeah, no, that's the exact play. Grant Dawson by submission. Just because, like you said, Mark Madsen, wrestling heavy. Grant Dawson wants to be on the ground as well. This thing's not going to be on the feet that long. We might see in the first round those guys feeling each other out, seeing what the striking like on each side. But at some point, this will hit the mat. And it's all going to come down to, is Mark Madsen strong enough to control Grant Dawson on the ground? Because if he's not, and he lets Grant reverse or transition, Grant's going to be looking for the neck, for the arm, any way possible to end this thing. And he's super good at it too. I see Grant Dawson submitting Mark Madsen. Mark Madsen is 12-0, but, level of competition, not super, super high. Not bad either, but Grant Dawson, I don't think he's fought anybody with this submission game like Grant Dawson. I'm super high on Dawson too, so I'm going to be rooting for him. I'm going to be picking him to win, and I am going to play that prop bet by him on submission.
Yeah, I agree. And as I said earlier, but Grant Dawson by KO is at plus 850. If we get in a situation where, Mark Madsen's kind of flattened out and he's just got to pound on him for the finish, that could be a little sneaky play there.
Yeah.
I don't mind that at all. But I love Grant Dawson. I think he's got bright future.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Featherweight fight here. Derek Minner and Sholinian Nuerdanbieke. It's the best I can do.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Both fighters, not super old, but they got a ton of fights. 39 fights for Derek Minner and 47 for the 28-year-old. Who knows what that record is.
Exactly.
So
yes,
you can't really read into that one too much, but both fighters kind of look to push the wrestling. Nuerdanbieke sitting at a minus 200 favorite. I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, I don't know if that's exactly accurate, those odds. I think it should be a lot closer because Nuerdanbieke, he hasn't fought anybody. If you look at his record, he's got 3 fights in the UFC. He lost his debut, and then he beat Sean Soriano, who is 14-7, and TJ Brown, who is 16-8. So not a whole lot of high-level experience, and he won those fights by decision. So he's not finding a ton of finishes yet inside the UFC. And on the other side, Derek Minner's submission game is super slick. He's got, 26 wins, and I believe 19 of those are by submission. So you know what he's going to be looking to do. I believe he's got 1 knockout to go along with that, so he's not real striking heavy. But, if you look at Tapology right now, Nuerdanbieke's 82% of the people think he's going to win. But minus 200 just in a fight like this does not feel right. Derek Minner having 19 submissions out of his 26 wins tells you he's dangerous at any point in this fight, especially if Nuerdanbieke wants to go out there and start wrestling. You got to watch your neck, and you got to watch the submissions of Derek Minner because he is talented on the ground. And for that reason, I think I might lean the underdog in Minner here. I think the odds should be tighter, like I said. And whenever that happens, and I see some value on a guy like Minner who has a ton of submission wins, I'm going to lean the underdog, especially how I don't trust Nuerdanbieke at all. So for those reasons, man, I'm going to go underdog Derek Minner.
Yeah, I'm leaning the same way. If we look on Tapology here, it's actually 22 subs for Derek.
22 subs.
22
that's
out
a
of
lot.
26. He's got a nasty guillotine too. He's got a guillotine right here.
Yep.
Guillotine. Tons of guillotines. And as we said earlier, this fight's probably gonna. Both guys kind of look to wrestle and grapple.
Yeah.
I went back and watched the Nuerdanbieke and TJ Brown fight. Nuerdanbieke was getting reversed a ton.
Right.
It's like a guy like Derek Minner. I think he's getting undervalued here as well. I think he could get it done by submission. I definitely put in a bet. Let me just see what it is. Plus 350 or something by sub. I don't know. I had it up, but I don't have it up now. But yeah, Derek Minner by sub. I think it's like plus 350 or so. That's not bad at all.
No, not at all for a guy who has 22 submission wins.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the type of bets that I love. A guy, he's super capable of it. He's done it in over 3/4 of his fights. So, to play that piece, it's kind of a no-brainer just to throw something on it because good chance if he wins, that's how it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's at plus 300 now. So
yep.
I think they're catching on a little bit, but can't blame him because that's, if he wins, that's probably the most likely. I mean, in most of his fights, they don't go to the decision. And,
right.
For Nuerdanbieke, a lot of his recent fights have gone to 2 decisions. So, yeah, I'm going to lean the dog here. I'm probably taking for my pick, too.
Yeah, I'm going to lean. Yeah, I think I am. Derek Minner.
Even though he's like plus 170.
Yeah.
Not bad to take him on the money line either. But moving on to the flyweight women's card. I believe there's 3 or 4 women's MMA fights on this one. So
there's a couple for sure.
They're loading them up.
This one I believe was scheduled for I want to say that Mackenzie Dern card.
Yeah, it was earlier, and then it got scrapped like the day before or something.
Yeah.
But Maverick sitting at a heavy favorite here. Shanna Young got a win in her last one over Gina Mazzani, but if you don't get a win over Gina Mazzani, you're probably getting cut.
Yeah.
And then a couple losses to Stephanie Egger and Macy Chason. Nothing too much to hang your head on that one, but still, I mean, there's still losses. For Maverick, win over Sabina Mazo, and then 2 losses to a couple women who are pretty high up in the rankings, so can't get mad at that one either. Only 25 years old, training out of Elevation. Big favorite here. Who are you leaning towards?
I got to lean towards Maverick and lean towards her by submission. Yeah, because, I mean, she submitted her before in the past.
Yeah, they did fight. I forgot about that. They did fight.
Yeah, they did fight. It's been a little bit, but if you look at Maverick's loss to Macy Barber, it was a split decision. So she was able to hang with Macy Barber. Macy has taken a loss or 2, but Macy's still one of these up and coming fighters that's tough to beat. She's good everywhere. She's tough. So to get a win over her, lost to her, but it was by a split decision.
Yeah,
so it was a close fight.
Thought that she won that fight.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I don't mind Miranda Maverick here by submission again. She's done it once. She knows she can do it. She's got the blueprint on how to finish this girl. That's going to be my play here. Miranda Maverick by submission.
Yeah. If there's a big enough favorite like this at a women's MMA, I'm always tempted to take the underdog.
Take the dog, yeah.
In this one, it's like, I mean, she's beat her once already, and Shanna Young hasn't shown to be that.
Right.
But she is pretty shredded for a flyweight woman, but yeah, I just got to take Maverick, and I'd probably, if you throw any money on Shanna Young, you're just throwing in hoping something magical happens and you get something out of it, but which I can't say I haven't done before, but
yeah,
move on because that one's. The writing's on the wall for that one. Mario Bautista and Benito Lopez. Bautista sitting at a pretty decent favorite here. A couple wins over Brian Kelleher and Jay Perrin. And then a loss to Trevin Jones. Doesn't age very well.
Yeah.
For Benito, a win over Vince Morales. 3 years ago. So he's been off for a while. Training out of Team Alpha Male. Who knows if he still trains there. MMA Labs for Mario Bautista with Sugar Sean O'Malley. So, he's going to be getting some good reps in with the 135ers. I'm pretty high on Bautista this year, or this fight, I guess. I think he's a very solid parlay piece. I got him with Grant Dawson in one. I got him with Tagir in one. I think he gets it done. The only thing is, who the hell knows what Benito Lopez is going to look like being off 3 years. But I have confidence that Bautista gets it done. He's pretty solid on the feet, pretty solid on the ground as well. Overall, a really good prospect for the bantamweight division. But bantamweight is just so stacked. It's it's going to take a lot to crack that top 15. So, yeah, I'm going to take Bautista. What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, I like Bautista a lot. And against Brian Kelleher, he looked really, really good. He's super strong, man, and he's aggressive. And he got the back of Brian Kelleher and sunk in that rear naked choke. Looked really good doing it. But he's also got, finishes like flying knees. And, he's knocked guys out clean. So he's powerful, too. And like you said, Benito Lopez has been off so long, we don't know what we're going to get with him. But if I had to guess, I don't think it's going to be anything to match Mario Bautista. I think Bautista is on the up and coming in the 135-pound division. He's a super fun prospect, and those type of guys seem to thrive in this situation. He's going to work his way up. I think Benito Lopez, he is 10-1, but that layoff scares me a lot. And going up against a guy like Bautista, who just fought in June, beat a guy who's tough, like Brian Kelleher. I know Brian Kelleher has a lot of losses on his record, but he is a tough dude, and he's a tough out for everybody he fights. So to go out there and do that to Kelleher and look good doing it, my money here is on Mario Bautista. I like the parlay piece a lot. He's right under minus 300 right now, but I could see him getting a finish as well. It's just going to be up to what's he get it done by. Submission, knockout. It's kind of hard to pick right now. But definitely at the moment going in a parlay piece for sure.
Yeah, dang. I mean, he's moved to minus 315. That's what I'm looking at right now.
So he's getting up there.
He's getting up there, yeah. People are catching on. But I would definitely look to see what him inside the distance would be. I'm sure it's probably going to be close to even.
I would say, yeah.
Maybe you're getting a little bit more value there, but who knows how durable Lopez is exactly. But Bautista's UFC debut was Corey Sandhagen. So, I mean, he had to grow up pretty quickly there.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on to another women's MMA fight. Jinyu Frey and Poliana Viana. Not the highest level here, but not the lowest. Could get lower, definitely. 37 years old for Jinyu Frey. She's getting up there. Lost to Vanessa Demopoulos in her last fight out. That one was a lot of clinching and just kind of control time and all that stuff. A loss for Poliana Viana in her last one out. So both fighters coming off a loss. This one, it's damn near a pick 'em. I don't know that. Well, I definitely don't think I'll be getting involved in this one. But who knows? I might change my mind. I would probably lean Jinyu Frey just for the fact she's a little bit better all around. Poliana is a little bit submission dependent. She's got really good BJJ, but it's like everything other than that, she's really not that great at. Her wins in the UFC are to Emily Whitmire, who is no longer with us, and Mallory Martin, who I don't believe is any longer with us either. She came in and she lost like 3 fights in a row, and I think the UFC was like, whoa, like this girl is like a little bit too good looking. We can't let her like slip. We gotta get her some easy wins so we can promote her a little bit. They got her a couple wins, gave her Tabitha Ricci, and Tabitha Ricci took her out. So I'm gonna lean Jinyu Frey, but I don't necessarily trust her enough right now to get any of my money. But that's the pick.
No, I'm with you. I like, I think whoever was the underdog in this fight is probably who I'm going to go with. It is super close in odds, minus 140 for Poliana Viana, plus 120 for Jinyu Frey. But Jinyu Frey is strong, man. If you look at her, she is shredded. And she uses that. Yeah, she uses that to her advantage. Viana kind of been a letdown. Lost to JJ Aldrich, Hannah Cyphers, and I'm not comfortable enough with her to go in there and beat Jinyu Frey in any certain way. I think Jinyu Frey is going to use that strength, like I said. Might be kind of an ugly fight. It might not be too entertaining at any point. But for me, this is dog or pass, and Jinyu Frey at plus 120. I think this fight could go either way. So I think you do have, I'd say a 50-50 chance on cashing the underdog. Not too high on it, though, so I wouldn't put a bunch of money on it. But it's one that, I'm a degenerate, so I'm going to play. But I am going to take the underdog here.
Yeah, she's plus 110 now. So you're getting a little plus money on there. And who knows, maybe Viana's going to get some money coming in on her.
Just for the looks.
Just for the looks.
Yep.
All her Instagram followers are going to be like, yo, you're fighting tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'll just throw a couple bucks on you, see how you do. But
exactly.
All right. Another kind of a low-level fight here, but Johnny Munoz sitting at a pretty decently sized favorite here. Got sparked by Tony Gravely in the first round, or the first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Just 3 months ago. Kind of been a disappointment as far as that goes. His ceiling wasn't super high, but he just hasn't really looked that great. Ludovic Sholinian lost his debut to Jack Shore. He was on The Ultimate Fighter and lost to Ricky Tercios, and then came in and fought Jack Shore 14-0. Jack Shore went 3 rounds with him, so I guess that's somewhat of a dub, but Jack Shore's not a big finisher. Who are you thinking in this one?
Yeah, I honestly don't mind the underdog in this one either. We saw him on The Ultimate Fighter. Looked pretty solid at times, but, losing to Jack Shore was 14-0 at the time, hadn't lost to anybody, and he took him all 3 rounds, even though, he didn't have a lot of bright moments in that fight or anything. Lost to Ricky Tercios on the Ultimate. Was that the season finale, or was this the semis?
It wasn't like...
Might have been the semifinals, right before the live shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he needs a win, I think, to stay in the UFC. He's coming off of the loss in the Ultimate Fighter, then a loss to Jack Shore, which Jack's a good fighter. We all know that. But I don't mind him in this fight at all. You look at Johnny Munoz, 11-2, hasn't really fought the greatest of competition. Tony Gravely, who's on this card, he lost to Nate Maness, who's on this card. Then he beat Jamie Simmons, who, tell me the last time you tuned in to watch Jamie Simmons fight. So it's one of those fights, man. I think the line could be a lot closer than what it is, minus 225 to plus 190. For that reason, I'm just going to sprinkle on the underdog here, Ludovic Sholinian, and hope something good happens. But I'm not, like I said, not too confident in this pick. But for the money, for the plus 190, I'm going to take the underdog.
Yeah, I'm in 100% agreement. I don't know how Johnny Munoz is that big of a favorite. I'm going to take him for my pick. I'm going to take Johnny Munoz for my pick, but if I'm going to bet it, it's got to be the dog. Who knows how good Ludovic Sholinian is? I don't think he's that good, but he didn't really get any chance to show off what he has against Jack Shore in that fight. He was kind of just playing defense the whole time and didn't throw a lot on the feet. I think he was just too scared about the takedowns and everything. The fight with Tercios on the season of The Ultimate Fighter, Tercios looked like he had some promise on that season, and then gets to the UFC and he looks like shit. But Sholinian, who knows? He's 9-2-1. He's Ukrainian, so maybe he's got a little power in there. But yeah, if I'm gonna bet it, it's definitely dog or pass. But for my pick, I'll take the favorite. Move on to White Kong, Jake Hadley, and Carlos Candelario. Jake Hadley, another pretty sizable favorite here. A loss in his last one out to Alan Nascimento, Charles Oliveira's training partner. And then Candelario lost to Tetsuro Taira, who looks like a pretty good prospect coming up in the flyweight division. With the way that Hadley struggled with the wrestling and the grappling with Alan Nascimento, and Carlos Candelario kind of went back and forth with Tatsuro Taira. I mean, he made it all 3 rounds with Tatsuro Taira. I don't mind him as a dog either in this situation. I know Jake Hadley's like, I don't want to say he has like a ton of hype around him, but he's got some people believing in him. He's from Birmingham, and Leon Edwards from Birmingham, so he's got that to fall back on. So I don't mind Candelario as the underdog here. I don't think I could get to a betting point to bet Hadley at all at that price. I just think Candelario is like good enough everywhere that he could find an avenue that works for him in this fight and make it greasy. And I think it probably goes 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And I would want the dog ticket if it goes 3 rounds and it's, a greasy fight. So I'm going to take Hadley as my pick, but if I'm going to bet it, it's going to be Carlos Candelario.
Yeah, no, Candelario, it's one of those things that if he can just keep this fight close enough and then make it go to the judges' scorecards and then just see what happens. I mean, I think that's his best chance in this fight. Hadley, though, he did have a lot of hype around him. He was 8-0 before his last fight, and then he kind of got exposed a little bit and showed that he's, kind of brought him back down to earth. Okay, this guy's human. He's not this big dominating fighter who's going to go undefeated forever and dominate all these UFC guys. Kind of showed that there's levels to this game. Nascimento was able to beat him, but both guys coming off of a loss, Candelario to Tatsuro Taira and then Hadley to Nascimento. Both guys need a win. Both guys are going to be doing everything they possibly can. I think Jake Hadley gets it done. But at minus 225, I'm not comfortable taking that money line, and I'm not comfortable taking him in a parlay just because of the way he looked in his last fight at times. He showed a little inexperience, showed there's some holes and some mistakes. And who knows, Candelario might be the more, all the way around. He might be the best, between the two, the more sound everywhere. Ground, striking, all of that. So I think this fight's going to be a lot closer than people think, but I am going to stick with Jake Hadley for the pick. I think he's got a better path to victory, but at the same time, Candelario can make it ugly. Take it to the judges' scorecards and just pray to God that they give the fight to him.
Yeah, Hadley was damn near the same price against Nascimento. And whenever you lose as like a decently sized favorite, that's always like a red flag moving forward. I'm like, if you can lay an egg once, you can lay another egg. So
one I'm going to stay away from on the betting though. I don't trust either guy yet. Especially after the last 2 performances. So
maybe throw in a little sprinkle on Candelario by split. That would be
might be good.
Something to look at. I don't think it's out yet, but keep an eye out. The last fight on the card, opening up the night. We don't have to spend too much time on this one unless you're really invested in it. But
I am not.
Ramona Pasual and Tamiris Vidal. I guess I'm going to say that. 5-fight win streak for her. So she's on a tear. She's on a tear. One of those wins was to Eileen Perez, but it was by DQ. She got kneed in the head. For Pasual, came into the UFC, a couple losses, sitting at a little bit of a dog here. Vidal making her debut in the UFC. 10 years of age difference here. Pasual has never made, or she hasn't made 135 in the past 3 years. This fight is scheduled to be at 135. So who knows what she's going to look like. Training out of Syndicate though, so she's getting the help there in Vegas. I'm going to go with Vidal here. I think it's just like so disgusting to me, but I'm just going to take the favorite here. She looked decent on film, like nothing special. Pasual's, we've seen her in the UFC, her UFC fights, nothing special at all. Yeah, I'm gonna take Vidal and just call it a day.
I'm the same way, just because she has the ability to finish fights. I think she's going to be physically stronger. Really, if you look at the records, there's not much to go off of besides the fact that Vidal's got a loss to Carol Rosa, who was 9-3 at that point, who's in the UFC. So she has, higher level competition in that aspect.
Yeah.
But Pasual's been in the UFC for 2 fights, lost both fights. I don't think she's the best fighter in the world. I think potential-wise, Vidal has more to go off of just because we haven't seen her at this level yet. Maybe she'll surprise us. Maybe she'll go out there, look really good, find another finish, and then we'll think, hey, this Tamira's Vidal girl, could climb the ranks with a few more wins. So yeah, I'm going to take the unknown here with Vidal, and I'm going to take her at minus 140. If she was any higher of a price tag, if she was sitting closer to minus 200, there's no fucking way I'm touching that shit. But minus 140, a girl who can find the finishes, why not? But this is just going to be a fun one. Nothing I'm investing too much in.
Yeah. Vidal by KO is plus 1,000, but you're getting pretty greasy there.
Yeah.
And Pasual fought Josiane Nunes, who has really good power, and she took her shots. So I mean, she got a decent chin.
What's Vidal by submission right now?
5 plus 500.
That wouldn't be too bad. She's got a couple on her resume out of her.
Yeah.
However many wins, 6 wins or whatever she's got. She's got a couple submissions, so might be something to look at.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you sold me on her. I mean, Ramona Pasual is just so bad. Like,
yeah, and she's lost by armbar too before. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that this fight, you could tell me, oh, Pasual won by knockout in the second round, and I'd tell you, not really surprised because in this fight, anything could probably happen. Both girls are bad enough to make mistakes, in my opinion. So you just don't really know. But minus 140, there's a little bit of value there for a favorite. I'm going to stick with Vidal just for the finishing ability and hope that she turns into something special and comes out there and just dominates Pasual.
Yeah. I'm kind of interested to see who wins now.
Yeah. Now we're going to be real invested come 3:00 or whatever time the fights start on Saturday.
Yeah, another 3:00 start time. I guess we got 12 fights now.
Yeah.
The Jailton Almeida fight got booked or kicked to the curb for Maxime Grishin. That one was supposed to be on here. I was kind of looking forward to see Jailton Almeida again.
Yeah, that would have been a perfect fight to put on this card to make it a little bit juicier because without that fight now you're like, okay, you got Daniel Rodriguez, Neil Magny, decent women's main event, but outside of that you're struggling in some places.
Yeah, on these fights they just throw a heavyweight fight on the main card like it's just gonna get people going when it's just so low level of heavyweights. But it's like, there's that chance that it could just be there could be a nasty knockout, and they want to showcase that on the main card. But yeah, 12 fights from the top down. I got Marina Rodriguez in the main event, Neil Magny in the co-main, Chase Sherman over Parisian, Ulanbekov for Team Habib, Grant Dawson to take Mark Madsen 0. Derek Minner as the dog, Miranda Maverick, Mario Bautista, training partner of Sean O'Malley, Jinyu Frey over the Queen Polyana Viana, Gianni Munoz Jr., not too confident in that one, Jake Hadley, not too confident in that one either, and Tamiris Vidal.
I like it. I'm gonna go Marina Rodriguez. Betting standpoint, I might throw something on Lemos, but for the sake of the pick and who I think should and is going to win, it's going to be Rodriguez. Yeah. Neil Magny, I'm confident in that one. I'm going to go man, I've torn on this one. I am going to go Josh Parisian just because of the Chase Sherman losses he's taken. He is good standing up and got quick hands and everything, but too many losses. I think he could take another one here. So Josh Parisian in that fight. Tagir Ulanbekov, for sure. I'm really high on him. Grant Dawson, I think he finds a sub. Derek Minner, I think he could also find a sub, and you're going to get good value on that one. Miranda Maverick, I think she dominates Shanna Young. Mario Bautista, again, I think we're both really high on him. I think he's got the ability to put this fight away sometime inside the distance as well. Jinyu Frey, even though I hate picking against a girl as pretty as Polyana Viana, but I've got to do it here. Going to take Ludwig Sholinian to beat Johnny Munoz. I think maybe this is the fight where we finally see Ludwig Sholinian's potential, and maybe we see a finish out of him too. Jake Hadley will be my pick. I'm not too confident. And then Tamirez Vidal, the fight of the night right there. We're taking her to beat Ramona Pascual as the favorite.
Dang, so the only dog I got is Derek Minner. So you know that's going to be quite the card. There's going to be some upsets. And,
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if
These fight nights, though, you do get a lot of upset, it seems. I mean, you do, especially on the prelims. I think the odds for Vegas, I think it's tough to gauge how good these fighters are. They don't really have a whole lot to go off of, which makes this sport fun to bet on because you can find, if you're into MMA and you watch a lot of these fighters, you can find some super good value just because the UFC is pretty new. Sports betting on the UFC hasn't been around for hundreds of years by any means. So, yeah, like I said, you're never in a bad situation picking a dog in the prelims, in my opinion.
I agree. The only plays I got out right now, I got Grant Dawson by sub at plus 375, Carlos Candelario by decision at plus 350. Both of those are not too highly invested in. Grant Dawson and Mario Bautista paired together for plus 103, and then Ulanbekov and Bautista paired together for plus 111. As always, get the full card on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at HIPicks. We posted usually an hour or two before the fight starts. What do you got?
I got one parlay that I really like that I just locked in, and it's going to be Mario Bautista, Grant Dawson, and Madrina Rodriguez all on the money line for plus 189. And those are three fights that I'm pretty confident in. Last one we're going to be sweating out with Marina Rodriguez. But Grant Dawson, Mario Bautista, I think those are locked up. And then you get to, sit back, enjoy the main event, root for Marina Rodriguez to cash some money. So there's a 3-leg parlay I'm giving out right now, and I just locked in.
Yeah, you could leave yourself a little hedge out situation too.
Yep, exactly.
So if you're feeling, not feeling good about it, you can always hedge out with Amanda Lemos. So
yep.
All righty. No Jake Paul boxing this week, so we got nothing else to talk about. UFC Vegas 64 starting at 3 p.m. Central for us. And should be some decent fights, not super stacked, but as we said earlier, they're fights. And next week we got the big one, UFC 281. So hopefully this card can lead us in the right direction. At the double leg on TikTok and Instagram. If you're on here right now, subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you for all the support. HIPicks here, the parlay on the other half. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll see you in the recap video.